You've been pushing, chasing, fixing, proving, and somehow the harder you try, the more life feels stuck. That tension in your chest, that restless energy that never seems to go away, it's not a failure, it's a signal. Because here's what almost no one tells you. The more you force life, the more it pushes back. But what if the secret to progress isn't in pushing harder, but in letting go in just the right way? In this video, you'll discover the subtle shift that makes everything move easier. And it's not what you think. Stick with me, because by the end you'll see why the people who seem to have it all together often aren't hustling harder. They're doing something almost invisible, yet unstoppable. Right now, a lot of people are living life in overdrive. They feel like they must control every outcome, anticipate every curveball and force results into existence. But have you noticed what usually happens when you push like that? Stress climbs, decisions feel heavy, relationships strain, and no matter how much effort you pour in, something still feels stuck. The question is, why does this happen, and what if the solution isn't in trying harder at all? Because the moment you understand this one hidden truth, everything starts to change, but only if you're willing to see what comes next. Most people never see it, but the problem isn't the challenge itself. It's how tightly you're holding on to the outcome. Think about sleep for a second. The more you try to force it, the farther it drifts away. The more you chase confidence, the more awkward it becomes. The more you pursue validation, the faster it slips through your fingers. There's a pattern here, and it's subtle, almost invisible until you recognize it. And when you do, you'll realize why everything you've been taught about effort might actually be holding you back. Here's the paradox. Effort doesn't equal results. Not always. Sometimes the quieter, subtler actions create a ripple effect that overwhelms the loudest attempts. It's like planting seeds. You don't yank them out to see if they've grown. You water them, give them light, and let time do its work. And yet, most of us act as if shaking the soil harder will speed up growth. It won't. And here's where it gets interesting. Once you grasp this, you'll start noticing life presenting opportunities you never saw before. But most people never reach this stage because they stop just short of noticing the next step. Let's talk about tension. Tension is the invisible force that shows up when you're over-controlling. You overthink conversations, overplan your day, overcorrect mistakes, and every ounce of tension you carry creates resistance. It's the silent friction that slows down your momentum without you realizing it. But when you release just a fraction of that tension, the effects are immediate, dramatic even. What most people don't see is how little they actually need to release to unlock the next level. And that next level is where the real magic begins, but it requires letting go in a way that feels almost counterintuitive. Think about water. It doesn't struggle against the rocks. It doesn't demand to move faster than the current allows. It flows, adapts, and finds the path of least resistance. Yet somehow it shapes mountains, carves valleys, and reaches places that solid walls could never block. There's a lesson here that most people miss entirely, because what water does naturally, we fight against every day. And the moment you see the reason why, you'll start moving in ways you didn't think were possible. Now consider this. Life often works in patterns, signals, and rhythms. When you fight the rhythm, you drain yourself. When you learn to read it, you gain influence, clarity, and control in ways that feel effortless. It's not cheating. It's not luck. It's noticing the invisible currents that everyone else ignores. And this is where most people stop. They see the idea, but they can't yet feel it in action. Once you feel it, your actions stop being random, desperate, or rushed, and suddenly doors start opening that you didn't even know existed. Here's a subtle truth that changes everything. Discipline is calm, desperation is loud. Most people act from desperation. They over-explain, overperform, overcompensate. The results: minimal, exhaustion, confusion, missed opportunities. But calm discipline, it's like a magnet. It pulls situations, people, and ideas toward you naturally, quietly, relentlessly. And here's the tricky part. The difference between these two approaches is invisible at first. Only later, when the results suddenly appear, do people realize what's been working behind the scenes. You've been told that success is about speed, hustle, and pushing harder. The reality is that the loudest, busiest person rarely achieves the most. Instead, the person who aligns, waits, observes, and acts at exactly the right moment outperforms every hustler around them. It looks effortless from the outside, almost like magic. And that's exactly why most people dismiss it, because it doesn't match the stories we've been fed about struggle and effort. Now here's the part most people miss completely. Letting go doesn't mean inaction. It means moving with awareness, acting without forcing, speaking without pleading, choosing without pushing. And this creates a strange, invisible momentum that carries you further than any frantic effort ever could. The energy shifts. Situations start resolving themselves. Opportunities appear where there were none. And those who've tried to force before are often shocked when they see how easy it can feel once you get the method right. But even knowing this isn't enough, because the challenge isn't understanding. It's remembering in the moment when you feel stuck, impatient, or frustrated. This is the test. Can you move calmly when your instincts scream to push? Can you pause, breathe, and act without gripping so tightly? Most people fail right here. Yet those who succeed are the ones who seem to have luck, timing, and flow on their side. And the truth is they're just listening, observing, and stepping lightly, while the rest are still pushing against invisible walls. Every great shift in life starts with a tiny change in perspective. You don't have to overhaul everything. You don't need a dramatic reset. You only need to notice where you're overreaching, over-controlling, over-forcing, and step back just enough to allow the natural momentum to take over. And when you do this consistently, life rearranges itself in ways that look impossible at first. But once it starts happening, there's no going back. Here's a final insight most people never see. Forcing life creates friction, but friction doesn't disappear just by trying to relax. It disappears when you act in rhythm with what's already moving. And rhythm is invisible. You can't measure it with plans, schedules, or checklists. You feel it. You sense it. You respond to it. And this is where transformation begins, quietly, almost secretly, but completely. When you reach this point, you'll notice a subtle shift. People start noticing you differently. Opportunities appear without being chased. Conversations flow instead of stalling. And your results feel effortless, even though you're still taking action. It's not luck. It's alignment. And the beauty is, once you feel this for yourself, you realize you never have to force life the old way again. The moment you understand this, you step into a new rhythm. A rhythm where pressure doesn't rule your day, where tension doesn't control your decisions, where patience isn't passive, it's strategic. And the most magical part, this isn't theory, it's practical. You can use it right now, today, the moment you stop shoving and start sensing. Imagine life no longer as a struggle to control, but a game to read, respond, and flow with. Every obstacle becomes a guidepost. Every delay becomes a signal. Every difficulty becomes a teacher. The real power isn't in forcing results. It's in moving when the moment calls, pausing when the moment waits, and letting life unfold just enough for you to ride the current, not fight it. And here's what most people don't realize until they've experienced it. The more you stop forcing, the faster you reach the results you thought you had to chase. It seems paradoxical, counterintuitive, almost unfair. But those who master this approach don't need luck, they don't need hustle, and they don't need constant effort. They just need the courage to trust the subtle flow of life and the patience to act at the right time. Now this is where it becomes personal. You've been pushing, you've been forcing, you've been struggling, and somewhere inside you know it doesn't have to feel that way. The choice to step back, observe, and move with awareness is yours. It won't be dramatic, it won't make headlines, but it will change everything, quietly, completely, irrevocably. Start today by noticing one moment where you're gripping too tightly. Release just a little, act without forcing, and watch how life begins to respond. Because once you experience this flow for yourself, you'll see that what you thought was effort was actually resistance, and what you thought was impossible was always waiting for the right timing. If this connected with you, thank you for watching until the end. Like and subscribe, and let's continue moving with clarity, calm, and momentum together.